Highness, Eminences, Excellencies, Highnesses, fellow members of an endangered species, good morning. My name is Tom Spencer. I spent rather... Is it working? I spent rather longer than I should have done in elected politics in the European Parliament. And I have to say, in my time in Parliament, participating in these symposia from 1995 onwards was one of the most... Participating in these symposia from 1995 onwards was one of the life-changing experiences for me as a politician as well as an individual. Before I describe the order in which we're going to take our distinguished speakers this morning, I just want to encourage you to take part in the trip at lunchtime. In the great tradition of the symposia, there are both carrots and sticks. And the carrot is that we're meeting a lot of local people who put a great deal of time and effort into joining us. And in a sense, because this is a symposium not on the boat, this is really our moment to get out and feel the river, feel what's happening. So I encourage you intellectually and emotionally to take part in that lunch. The stick is that if you don't go, you don't get any lunch. So please participate. We have 4 speakers this morning. General Van Antwerp will be joining us around 11 o'clock. And so what I am going to suggest is that we start with Dr. Thuc from Vietnam, because I think it is useful for all of us to remember that Katrina has global lessons, and that these kind of disasters don't just happen in the developed world. And Katrina was such a powerful symbol in the imagination of America and in the imagination of the world that I think it's sensible to try first to look at another great river and see what lessons we can learn. And then we'll take Professor Galloway in his first of 2 contributions today in looking at what went wrong and what lessons are learned. And then we'll see how the timing has gone and whether we have time to break for a coffee. And then hopefully we'll take General Van Antwerp and then Carl Pope, and hopefully we will have plenty of time for questions of a rigorous and probing variety. So, for me, this is the kind of hinge session of the symposium when we move from generalities to specifics, and from those specifics learn what lessons are learnt and what stories we want to take away to the outside world. So, Dr. Thuc, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for putting me as the first speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you an introduction to the Mekong River Basin, one of the largest and the longest river in the world. The Mekong River originates from China, Tibet Plateau. It runs through 6 countries, including China, part of China, part of Myanmar, part of Thailand, part of Laos, and nearly the whole area of Cambodia, and then part of Vietnam. And it flows to the sea with a total length of about 4,800 kilometers. It is a little bit longer than the Mississippi River. The catchment area is about 759,000 square kilometers, about 1/3 of the area of the Mississippi River. In terms of catchment area contribution, China accounts for about 21%, Myanmar 3%, Laos 25%, Thailand 23%, Cambodia 20%, and Vietnam about 8% in terms of area. For flow contribution, China about 16%, Myanmar 2%, Laos 35%, as big as Thailand 18%, Cambodia same 18%, and Vietnam about 11% of flow contribution to the Mekong River. The river can be divided into 2 parts. The upper part mainly in China, and up to the border with Myanmar, with Laos. We say that is the Golden Triangle. The lower part including Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam. The people live in the lower Mekong River Basin, about nearly 10 million people in Cambodia, nearly 5 million in Laos, 23.1 million in Thailand, and about 17 million in Vietnam, with a total is about 55 million people in the lower Mekong River Basin. For flow of the river, the average annual flow up to the sea is about 475 billion cubic meters per year. It varies from the headwater up to some station along the course of the river. The mean monthly flow at the peak of about 38,000 cubic meters per second, with a minimum flow or a low flow of about 1,000 cubic meters per second. The river basin is considered still undeveloped, but there were some changes already happened in the past, including the dam cascade in China, the other dams in the lower Mekong Basin, mainly in the tributaries. Irrigation development in Thailand, in Laos, and in Cambodia. Forest cover reduction in Laos, in Thailand. Now we use timber export from Laos a lot in the world. Even in Vietnam, we also import timber from Laos. For fishery development in Cambodia, especially in Laos, some part of Laos and Thailand, and navigation development in the lower part of the river in the Mekong Delta in Vietnam. High population density, especially in the delta of Vietnam. And we can categorize the chain in the past and maybe in the near future on the demand, consumptive, agriculture, aquaculture, water supply, environmental, and in-stream use for fishery, salinity control, energy, navigation. The chain also due to climate, sea level rise, increased dry season demands, higher drought risk, increased flood intensity and frequencies. Infrastructure, including dam, irrigation and drainage, flood control structure, salinity control structure, dredging and river work, and water supply and sanitation. Management practice, including catchment management, energy production, irrigation, husbandry, fishery management, and pollution control. The chain will continue in the future, of course, due to population pressures, due to the awareness of the people in using the resource of the river basin, due to climate change, and the opportunity for development, water resource and related resources. The impact on the river basin can be namely here, impact on hydrological regime along the mainstream of the river, impact on the flood regimes of the delta, impact on mechanism of salinity intrusion in the delta, impact on water quality condition in the mainstream, and impact on other indicator related to environmental and ecological nature, and finally, social economic impacts. The first impact here can be considered as the hydropower dams in the upper part of China. There are about 8 dams in the cascade in China, in which 2 dams were completed and others are under construction. Dam in the lower part, up to now is mainly in the tributary, but in very near future, there is a lot of dam built on the mainstream in Laos, Thailand, and Cambodia. The Mekong Delta in Vietnam plays a very important for nurturing approximately about 18 million population of the people. However, the infrastructure development in the delta is still considered as undeveloped. The Mekong Delta in Vietnam contribute about 40% of the GDP of agriculture of the whole country. It's a quite big amount contribution. 50% of total paddy output, and nearly 90% of rice for export of Vietnam. 60% of total fishery output, 55% of fishery export to the world, and about 50% meat and eggs production supplies to other regions, other countries. The vulnerability of the Mekong Delta, including the upstream flows, including flood and drought. From the seaside, due to salinity intrusion, sea level rise, and tidal regime, with flood and erosion, drought, and salinity intrusion, acid sulfate soil of the land in the delta. Mangroves in the delta is destroyed for shrimp farming, environmental degradation of the whole delta. For flood, every year the inundation area is up to 1 to 1.9 million hectares is underwater due to flood, with a duration of about up to 4 months, 4 meters, and inundation area about duration is about 5 months. Salinity intrusion with about 1.6 million hectares every year, with a duration of 1 to 3 months of the years. Acid sulfate soils is the main problem for cultivation in the area, with a duration of about 3 to 6 in the dry season, when there is not enough water. Climate change already happened in our country. According to the observed data, over the past 50 years, temperature for the whole country have increased about 0.5 degrees Celsius every station in the country. The sea level rise, data at the Gatkin station show that during the past 50 years, the sea level in the Vietnamese coast have increased about 0.2 meters over the past 50 years. For the whole country, with a rate of about 3 millimeters per year. If the sea level rise about 1 meter, according to the high scenario of climate change, there will be about 15,000 square kilometers, or 38% of the Mekong Delta will be inundated. What is the option for adaptation in the delta? We learn from other countries, for example, river and sea dye. Yes, we have it, and we are still doing it. Barrage or sluice, yes. Flood bypass, also. Close down the river for better drainage, it is impossible due to the river is very large, with about 9 river mouth. Each of them, I think, is bigger than the mouth of the river, the Mississippi River. Another measure of room for the river or room for water, it seems difficult. It's quite difficult to learn from the Dutch experience. Storm surge or storm surge barrier, I think it is not necessary at this moment. Regional linkage to the upstream, yes, we are working on that. A rolling master plan, we are thinking, and it will be done in the very near future. Strong institutional and technical support on monitoring and tools, yes. The question is how to meet the need and to keep the balance for the whole river. To meet the need of poverty reduction, education, water supply, fuel, agricultural development, flood protection, and energy demands, and at the same time to keep the balance. That is the question. There are some measures for the Mekong Delta, including flood control and mitigation, including dam, canal, and reservoirs. Embankment structure for prioritized area, elevated resident area, salinity control structures such as sluice gate, river sea dike system, and dredging of the river channel. Non-structure measures can be named here as vision, strategy, master plan, program for adaptation and mitigation, crop pattern and time readjustment according to the water availability and quality, including spatial and temporal, inhabitant resettlement, early warning system, environmental and ecology protection, institutional strengthening, regional and bilateral cooperation. With the theory of living on an easy street, including water resource development, environmental protection, economy development, and society security, to harmonize or to combine all these things together. There are some experience at the local level can be named here. Desertification of cultivation on paddy field in the dry season. We turn the paddy field into stream culture. And in the rainy season, it turned back into rice cultivation. Due to the elevation of the whole delta is very low, about 1 meter or just 1.5 meter above mean sea level. So the bed is raised for fruit tree plant. And the forest is combined with vegetation production. So we hope that in very near future, we can restore the condition and the bird can go back. In fact, it go back already to the land. Cooperation, international cooperation is very important for the river basin. The Mekong River Commission have been formed by the 4 riparian countries, including Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. They signed the agreement on cooperation for sustainable development in the Mekong River Basin in 1995. The Mekong River Commission established by the agreement with the goal to promote and coordinate sustainable management and development water and water-related resource for the country's national benefit and the people well-being by implementing strategic program and activity and providing scientific information and policy advice. The structure of the commission including 3 levels: the COSO with the government, the joint committee at ministerial level, and the secretariat. That is my presentation. Thank you very much.